Best 8 beers in Austin, Texas. Austin. A place suspended like a shadow hovering over dust. A place that invites you to snub the sin of indulgence. I love food and beer trips to this beacon on a hill of weird. I find myself compulsively drawn to the Czech and German culinary traditions of smoked meats and kolaches, in lockstep with the area's Spanish roots represented in the street tacos, and of course balanced with the structured and artistic approaches to some of the best beers in the world. Today, beer making is a symphony of sheer weirdness found in a brewery life full of dreamers, crackpots, refugees, and sociopaths with whom the atonal sounds of boiling water and bubbling yeast harmonize with the noise and clatter and steam as an awkward incantation to conjure a delicious piece of fermented art. If you've ever wondered what the best beers in Austin are, I've compiled a list that is uninfluenced by the usual beer raters of Untappd, Beer Advocate, or Rate Beer. Instead, I have selected the best beers in the area according to the impact these beers have had on me. I recognize that this list is heavily influenced by my personal flavor and style preferences, and that this list is heavily persuaded by time and place and may not necessarily be what the zeitgeist of the craft community discerns as informed. This list is not to impress or persuade, merely to share and invite you to add to the conversation. Context and memory play an important role in the drinking and sharing of beer. Beer drinking was meant to be shared as the backbone of good conversation. So here we go. Buckle up. Let's begin. Atrial Rubicite from Jester King Brewery. My first experience with this beer was in 2015. While this beer can be enjoyed anywhere, it takes on a completely higher dimension when it is consumed on the premises of Jester King. Both the beer and the place are quirky, esoteric, thoughtful, pretty, funky, and open to interpretation. I was standing in a line of 300-plus sour beer fans that snaked its way through the picturesque property of Jester King. This was Jester King's 5th release of their signature beer, and its popularity had grown exponentially. Though I stood in line for over 2 hours, it was not a burden but a chance to form friendships with people in line ahead and behind me, relationships that exist to this day. The experience. From the outset, I was greeted with a nose full of raspberry and barnyard hay. It poured a deep ruby that was almost Bordeaux-like. This beer is meant to be savored, not pounded. It is a gathering when this bottle is opened, consumed with communion-like reverence and appreciation. It is bursting with raspberry that is evened out with hints of vanilla and brown sugar. It is sour, but so well balanced with sweetness in all the right places on the tongue. The oak of the barrel offers another level of complexity that makes this beer darn near perfect. Fully Adrift is a double IPA from Pinthouse Pizza. Pinthouse is a routine stop for me and my family. For hops, this place has been killing it for years. Their pizzas are unique and draw on the energy of Central Texas. When paired with their on-site brewed beers, it produces a happiness volcano in your mouth. When paired with Fully Adrift, their Alpha Award-winning IPA, be careful, you're likely going to lose control of your senses. The experience. The aroma is full of pale malts and melons, a truly unique profile for an Imperial IPA. The flavor punch is melon forward, with bitter cantaloupe that is checked with a pale malt backbone. It's an 11% beer, so it needs to be handled with parsimony. If you're looking for pairing recommendations, I'd order the Armadillo. You can thank me later. Rocket 100 Pre-Prohibition style Pilsner from ABGBs. Okay, this is just Amos Lowe and Swifty Peters showing off. It's two composers doing variations on a theme. In this case, the theme is Pilsner. When Germans migrated over to Central Texas, they would brew a tradition that was modified by the indigenous ingredients of the region, and this is their homage to them. The experience. It is balanced between the grassy, earthy background and the lingering sweetness of the grain finished with a nice carbonated bite. To me, this is the perfect after you mow your lawn beer. After all, do we really want to quarantine ourselves behind the velvet rope of craft beer, barrel-aged snobbery on a daily basis? Or do we want to slam back something that quenches and satisfies while you relax on the porch? This is that beer, my friends. Moderne Dansk, Jester King Brewery. This gem is a wild ale aged in Danish cherry wine barrels re-fermented with Danish Stevensberg cherry juice. It is inspired by a renowned Danish winery, Frederiksted Kirsebærvin. The winery is known for making wine from Stevensberg cherries. This is in concert with Jester King's approach to brewing beer. The team at Jester King approached beer like a winemaker, calling on earth, wind, and fire to arrive at a single moment and produce something that could only exist in that moment. This is an ode to Jester King's commitment to terroir. This was a beer I found myself craving over and over again, but given its limited release, it is hard to come by. The uniqueness of the cherry is wrapped in a buttery mouthfeel, blended with JK's signature funk that makes this a stunning wild ale. Alstadt Kolsch from Alstadt Brewery. I had this beer while sitting in a picturesque beer garden in the hill country. As I sat back in my Adirondack chair, watching the sunset over the limestone canyon, a view so beautiful it makes the oppressive heat tolerable, I sip on this endlessly drinkable Kolsch. This is so clean and crisp, and a great way to watch the valley blanket itself in a calico sky. The experience. Its slightly peppery and earthy notes open the door for hints of harvest fruit across the palate. It has a grainy, bready character. This is a beer that is steeped in rich German tradition and instantly transports you to Bavaria. I dare you to drink just one. Hell yes, Munich-style hells from ABGB. Austin has a rich German tradition, which is probably why lagers and pilsners have been such a mainstay in the region. ABGB's Hell Yes is a hell which in century terms is a stark contrast to the aggressive hop-forward IPA or the acetic punch of wild and sour ales. The experience. Unlike these aggressive flavor bombs that seem to ebb in intensity with each sip branding familiarity on the tongue, this Bavarian treasure uses hops more like a condiment that enhances the profile rather than dominates it, and in so doing gains strength throughout the pint. Live Oak Heffeweizen from Live Oak. Memories of this beer span over a decade. My first exposure was sitting at a campfire, telling stories to fellow Cub Scout fathers who have accompanied their boys to their first overnight campout. The experience. This beer pours a hazy orange that is full of bready flavors punctuated with small interruptions of banana esters and creamy vanilla. A slight lemon tang slides off the back of the palate as it rides its long malty finish. This is sweet, smooth, refreshing, and extremely drinkable. Spon from Jester King. Spon has been a passion project for Jester King. It is their homage to the Gueuze tradition of Belgian beer making. It is far and away the best American méthode traditionnelle, American Gueuze, I've tried. It certainly gives a reverential nod to the Belgian Gueuze masters like Cantillon, but this is unmistakably Jester King, and that is a great thing. It is what Gueuze is supposed to accomplish, the elements of a region in a glass. The experience. Your nose and palate will dance with wet hay and spritzy lemon and light apricot, with a wonderful funk that is the backbone of this beer. Notes of peppercorn and herbs like rosemary and thyme. No one note competes with the next. They simply roll across the tongue, giving you something else to consider. It unfolds like a good conversation that engages you and prompts more interest. Goose is my favorite style, so I'm likely very partial in this assessment, but it is a special treat beer to crack open with friends. As has been my custom with my own friend group, I've introduced them to many variations of this beer, and it has opened up a whole new appreciation in our friendship as well as our palate. You can learn a lot about a person when you share a beer with them. It's not going to solve the debate over who is the better Big 12 power, Texas Longhorns or OU Sooners, but it's a start. It will at least make the debate more friendly. Austin has left its mark on me. I go there often. And the beers I have tried are the souvenirs collected along the shores of my better nature. Cheers, everyone.